We are inching closer to one of the most crucial summits. Leaders of India, United States, Australia and Japan are all set to meet in Tokyo to discuss some of the issues of common concern. US President Joe Biden has arrived in Japan. This is the second leg of his trip to Asia. It aims to show America's commitment to the region. Biden flew from South Korea to Yokota Air Base outside Tokyo. He will meet Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida on Monday. He will unveil his multilateral trade initiative. On Tuesday, Biden will reinforce the theme of American leadership in the Asia-Pacific. This is when he will join Indian Prime Minister Modi, Australian Prime Minister-elect Anthony Albanese and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida for a Quad summit. Quad nations plan to launch a maritime initiative. It aims to curb illegal fishing in the Indo-Pacific. Reports say that the maritime initiative will use satellite technology to create a tracking system for illegal fishing from the Indian Ocean to the South Pacific. The Quad nations have increased cooperation in the face of China's growing dominance in the Indo-Pacific region. Biden will use his trip to launch the long-anticipated Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. It is a proposed pact that aims to set rules for trade and digital standards. It aims to ensure reliable supply chains, worker protections, decarbonization and tax and anti-corruption issues. The U.S. is also looking to deepen its economic partnership with Taiwan. The summit comes at a crucial time. China is experiencing a significant economic disruption due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Fears continue over Biden's trip as there are reports that North Korea might test a nuclear-capable missile or a bomb. There was speculation that this might happen while Biden was just across the border in Seoul. However, nothing materialized. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says that the threats remain. While in South Korea, Biden confirmed that he was prepared to meet North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. But Sullivan clarified that the move remains far off as leaders are not even at step one yet. And for more on this, we are being joined by Spencer Critchley, who is a strategic affairs expert from California. Spencer, good to see you and welcome to WION.
Good to join you, Eric.
Do you think it is time Quad grouping asserted itself or created a harder edge, not just in the region but across the globe? Because many say it suffers from an identity crisis. What do you think?
I think perhaps instead of a harder edge, perhaps a stronger focus is called for in a case like this, especially given recent history. I think in recent years, both in the United States and internationally, we've seen far too much chest thumping and bluster and threats and bullying as a way of dealing with each other. And one of the big challenges facing President Biden from the beginning of his presidency, and I'm sure for the remaining term or terms, I hope, is to restore the credibility of the United States as a leader, not because we're the most powerful country in the world, but as he says, by the power of our example. He often likes to say we should lead not through the example of our power, but the power of our example. And that means we have to demonstrate the values and the respect for the rule of law that we'd like to see across the world. So I would say it would be good to see the Quad become more tightly focused, but especially around those shared values as opposed to somebody being seen as more powerful than somebody else.
Spencer, the biggest question at the White House right now is how will Modi be approached when it comes to the Ukraine conflict? Do you think that will be the most complicated factor for President Biden at the summit?
I think it is a very complicated issue, and this is an area where the United States, like I think all globally powerful nations throughout history, has faced the challenge of not succumbing to the temptation to just throw your weight around. Now, again, I think we, to a large extent, were failing that challenge under President Trump, and his attitude tended to be you're either with us or you're against us. And he thought that by performing these displays of being a tough guy, he could just get other nations to do what he wanted because they were afraid. We need to understand that although we disagree with India's stance vis-a-vis Russia, the world looks different from the Indian perspective. And I think President Biden is good at being able to think about more than one thing at the same time and to realize India is a strong ally of the United States. And we may have fundamental differences on some issues, but it doesn't have to harm the overall relationship.
Right. Finally, Spencer, observers suggest that the Quad needs to create better alternatives if it is to deal with China's expansionism in the Indo-Pacific. What's your view on that?
I think that this, again, is an area where the better alternative is free, open societies and free, open economies to the extent that we can achieve that, given that we all will have divergent interests. But the most powerful achievement in the history of politics has been the global order based on either existing or emerging democracies working together under a system of agreed upon rules, as opposed to the great game of politics, which was played beforehand, especially during the imperial age, when it was just basically, contests of naked power. So I think that is by far the best alternative that we can present, meaning the group of countries, both in the Indo-Pacific and similarly with the North Atlantic Alliance defending against Russia. We are not an aggressive threat to Russia. We're an alliance of free, open societies trying to protect this precious gift we've finally managed to achieve after all these millennia of human history.
We'll have to end it there. We're talking to a strategic affairs expert live from California, Spencer Critchley. Thank you for making time and talking to WION today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.